Hello and welcome to TVB News. I'm Melissa Hekalea. The Office of the Privacy Commissioner for Personal Data, or PCPD, warned of the emergence of a new type of fraudulent trick in which residents receive SMS messages claiming to be from neighbors asking for their contact details. The watchdog said it received 6 complaints and inquiries since March involving different housing estates in Kowloon and New Territories. Subsequent checks by estate management offices confirmed the messages to be fake. Samantha Lee tells us more.
Scams come in many different disguises. Some Ma On Shan residents said they recently received phishing MSS messages in which scammers claimed to be neighbors living downstairs and complained about issues such as water seepage. They even asked targets to contact them for further discussion. This resident said he would not be deceived once the conversation turned to money. While this woman said she could just consult estate management to check if the person was really a resident. Anna Law, district councillor of Sha Tin, said nearly 20 inquiries emerged from some estates in Ma On Shan. But it is just the tip of the iceberg. PCPD said once the dialogue begins, the scammers would pretend to be interested in developing a relationship with the victims or use other tactics to gain their trust, ultimately aiming to swindle money or personal data out of them. Culprits may also trick the victims into clicking on suspicious hyperlinks that would lead to fraudulent websites designated to obtain victims' personal data. The data protection body reminded residents to think twice before providing any personal information and seek clarification from estate management offices if receiving suspicious messages or calls. Samantha Lee, TVB News.
CLP Group announced today that the average net tariff will drop by 1.3% from the beginning of this year. The Power Group released its quarterly statement, which stated the monthly fuel cost adjustment was reduced to 44.4 cents per unit of electricity in May as international fuel prices fell. Brazil reported its first outbreak of the H5N1 avian influenza at a commercial poultry farm. Hong Kong's Food and Environmental Hygiene Department has immediately halted poultry imports from certain regions. Hong Kong suspended poultry imports from Montenegro, Brazil's Rio Grande do Sul state, and 2 U.S. counties in the states of South Dakota and Illinois after H5N1 avian flu outbreaks. The city imports 90% of its frozen chicken from Brazil, including 9,400 tons in the first quarter of this year, plus 12,290 tons of U.S. poultry. The Food and Environmental Hygiene Department say they're working with international agencies and will update measures as needed to protect public health. Former U.S. President Joe Biden has been diagnosed with an aggressive form of prostate cancer that has spread to the bone. His office said in a statement that Biden was diagnosed on Friday. He and his family are reviewing treatment options with doctors. Tracy Furness has more.
When I die, Delaware will be written on my heart.
The findings came after the 82-year-old former president reported urinary symptoms, which led doctors to discover a nodule on his prostate. He was then diagnosed with prostate cancer, with the cancer cells having spread to the bone. Prostate cancers are graded for aggressiveness using what is known as a Gleason score. The scores ranging from 8 to 10 behaved more aggressively. Biden's office said he was a 9. Prostate cancers need hormones to grow. As in Biden's case, they can be susceptible to treatment that deprives the tumours of hormones. Outcomes have improved in recent decades, and patients can expect to live for 4 to 5 years, according to the Massachusetts General Brigham Cancer Center. The health of Biden was a dominant concern among voters during his time as president. After a calamitous debate performance in June while seeking re-election, Biden abandoned his bid for a second term. Then Vice President Kamala Harris became the nominee and lost to Republican Donald Trump. In February 2023, Biden had a skin lesion removed from his chest. It was a basal cell carcinoma, a common form of skin cancer. And in November 2021, he had a polyp removed from his colon that was benign but potentially precancerous lesion. In 2022, he made a cancer moonshot, one of his administration's priorities, with a goal of halving the cancer death rate over the next 25 years. The initiative was a continuation of his work as vice president to address a disease that had killed his oldest son, Beau. Tracy Furness, TVB News.
Pro-European candidate Nicosor Dan won Romania's closely watched and fiercely fought presidential runoff. A huge turnout backing him again ahead of right-winger George Simion. David Garrett reports.
The man who will be the president, Nicosor Dan, emerging to cheers and applause from those who know him and acclaimed by the thousands who believe in him. While several countries have lurched to the right, with voters shunning the EU, this Eastern European country has gone in the other direction, to the left. Dan, a liberal and popular mayor of Bucharest, believes in the union. His supporters unfurled a massive blue and yellow EU flag in the capital in celebration. 54% of the 11.5 million Romanians who voted backed Dan.
I'm very happy because I was thinking maybe I should leave, maybe I should fall behind if the other candidate wins. But right now I feel relieved, I feel happy.
It seems much of the election result boiled down to being integrated with continental partners and backing Ukraine against Russia. The softly spoken mathematician, sure he had the numbers to declare victory. This is your victory, he told the crowds in a park near City Hall. Dan spoke of a profound change of direction, saying he wants to build a country for all Romanians, no matter how they voted. High turnout helped, plus 87% of Romanians in Moldova backed Dan. The number of votes from abroad increased by 50% compared with the first round. This is who came in second. Nationalist George Simion ended up with a 46% share in the runoff. Backed by much of the diaspora, especially in Western Europe, he'd initially tried to claim victory, but later conceded to Dan. During the campaign, Simion had stood with Călin Georgescu, who stunned Romania with a victory in the first round. That result was annulled over allegations of fraud and Russian disinformation on platforms like TikTok. Russia denies this. It may have been this shock to the system that brought Dan supporters from the left in large numbers to the voting booths on Sunday, giving Dan a 5-year term and the mandate to nominate a new Prime Minister. David Garrett, TVB News.
The Polish presidential election will come down to a two-man runoff on June 1st. Warsaw's Mayor Rafał Trzaskowski, an ally of Prime Minister Donald Tusk, did worse than expected, getting nowhere near the 50% threshold to win outright. Trzaskowski placed first, but with only 31.4% out of 13 candidates. Karol Nawrocki, an independent runner backed by conservatives, takes on Trzaskowski next month after taking 29.6%. The gap was narrower than opinion polls had suggested. Most of the power lies with the prime minister, but the president can veto legislation. As Western countries keep up their sanctions against Russia, Chinese products are gaining a growing market share there. A China-Russia consortium is building an e-commerce hub, a logistics center, and hotels in Moscow. As Jaffe Ho reports, some businessmen in Russia see vast potential for e-commerce cooperation.
Since the Russia-Ukraine war began more than 3 years ago, American companies have left Russia in droves. A local consortium took over this fast food chain, retaining the style of the decor and menu of the chain's former operator, McDonald's. In this shopping mall, American brands have virtually disappeared. Starbucks has been replaced by Star's Coffee. While Chinese smartphones and TVs dominate electronic stores, only parallel iPhone imports remain available. The Sadufoid market is about 30 minutes drive from central Moscow. Also known as the Chinese market, it spans 600,000 square meters and is the largest retail and wholesale market in Eurasia. With an average of 250,000 visitors daily, around 90% of the goods sold are Chinese-made, and about 1,000 Chinese nationals operate the stalls here. One of them, a plastic flower vendor from Jilin province, came to Russia 20 years ago. She said there's no suppression or pressure doing business here, and people respect each other so they can do business together. Some locals said they like Chinese products but still hope for an early end to the war and the return of more international brands for a greater variety of products.
There are actually a lot of products from China which I bought today. They were good. And they were very cheap, so that's good to buy them there. They are even cheaper than if you buy them online. I hope sometime later companies which quitted Russia after the start of so-called special military operation will return back.
A China-Russia consortium is investing $200 million in the development of a commercial complex in Moscow. The project includes an e-commerce hub, logistic warehouse, and hotels. The 3 newly completed buildings are set to open in July, aiming to be Moscow's new Chinatown. The project leader believes there will be significant collaborative opportunities between China and Russia. China remains Russia's top trading partners, with bilateral trade reaching $240 billion last year, and the figure is projected to exceed $300 billion this year. Jovi Ho, TVB News.
The Chinese University of Hong Kong has discovered that a mainland-developed drug could treat some types of cancer more effectively. Celine Chan has more.
Lung, colorectal, and pancreatic cancers are Hong Kong's top cancer killers. Current targeted therapies demonstrate limited efficacy in patients with specific genetic mutations. Mr. Yu, a 68-year-old former smoker, was diagnosed with lung cancer a few years ago. He received a chemotherapy treatment and found it ineffective as his tumor increased in size. He joined the Chinese University of Hong Kong's medical research and tried a novel mainland-developed drug a year and a half ago and saw his tumor shrink significantly after 18 months on the experimental drug. He can now climb 2 to 3 flights of stairs without shortness of breath, a sharp contrast to his pre-treatment struggle to ascend half a floor. The research team monitored around 60 cancer patients' health conditions after taking the new oral inhibitor and discovered that a daily dose of 600 milligrams is sufficient to suppress the genetic mutations completely. 70% of the group's patients saw a significant shrinkage or disappearance of the tumors. No disease progression was observed during the 6-month follow-up. The drug only has mild side effects like vomiting and nausea, which are manageable without hospitalization.
In terms of its pharmacokinetics and pharmacodynamics, it is more efficacious in the sense that it does inhibit KRAS G12C at a quicker rate and most likely at a longer duration as well. And this is demonstrated in the laboratory, and certainly in our clinical trials, we're also seeing signals of this in our patients.
The drug is currently still in the research and development phase. The team believes the government's 1+ new drug approval mechanism, which requires only 1 registration certificate from a designated regional drug regulatory authority combined with local clinical trial data, will expedite the drug market's approval, allowing patients to benefit from it sooner. The team seeks to expand trials and welcomes more cancer patients to try out the new drug. Celine Chan, TVB News.
That's the news. Thanks for watching. Pearl Magazine is up shortly. See you then.